The Battle Royale game Radical Heights was a bit of a surprise when it sprung out of nowhere a few weeks ago, and Jake's back.
Thanks, Mike.
Turns out that Cliffy B's Boss Key Productions, after the disappointment of Lawbreakers, have been quietly beavering away on a completely different game. And that bold gambit seemed to pay off, with lots of players jumping into the game. The only problem was, they all jumped out again pretty quickly.
Radical Heights enjoyed a pretty strong debut a couple of weeks ago. Boss Key's colourful Battle Royale game was rough around the edges, having been just 5 months in development, but it still managed to top the studio's previous effort, Lawbreakers, in terms of players. Lawbreakers peaked at around 7,500 players during its launch back in July 2017, while Radical Heights hit closer to 8,500. The main difference being, of course, that Radical Heights was free. Still, it was a decent start and the game reached number 32 in Steam's list of the most played games. It certainly looked a hell of a lot better than the fascinatingly low player counts of Lawbreakers, a game that still isn't even a year old, which has been dropping down into single digits according to Steam data site Githyp.
I guess here's where we should point out really quickly that these aren't official figures or anything. These haven't been disclosed by Valve or by Steam or by the law. There we go.
You're going to say the Lawbreakers community and then realise there wasn't one?
No, the Lawbreakers. All by Boss Key Productions themselves. This is just a third-party site, Githyp, that kind of looks at Steam data somehow and comes up with figures like this. And we've kind of checked the other games that they've got like analysis and data for as well, and that seems to be pretty spot on with PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds as far as we're aware. So that's where the data's come from, just so you're aware. But that wave of momentum around Radical Heights during its release has apparently already dropped off dramatically. Githyp points out that where other Battle Royale games have tended to see steady week-on-week rises in player numbers, Radical Heights has fallen by 82% from its peak. On Tuesday, April the 24th, the game's peak concurrent player count fell to an all-time low of 2.2 thousand. Here's an extract from Githyp's analysis, quote, "After tracking the player counts for new releases and early access games over the past couple of years on Githyp, we've seen that the key to successful Battle Royale games has been enticing players to jump ship from other Battle Royale games. In its second week of early access on Steam, PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds had already doubled its launch day peak of 39,000 players by stealing away H1Z1 King of the Kills players. Fortnite recently became the most popular Battle Royale game by doing the same thing to PUBG. Sadly, it doesn't look like Radical Heights has managed to convert any Battle Royale players for longer than a day." Now, Githyp closes off its analysis in pretty bleak fashion, quote, "Radical Heights looks like another flop for Boss Key Productions." So again, this is third-party data from a kind of independent source. This isn't like official statistics or anything, but that is what Githyp's analysis is. We've used Githyp plenty of times in other videos in the past, so we have cited them as a source before, and they've been pretty spot on. They were pretty spot on about Lawbreakers itself, for example, for how struggling that game was doing, if you know what I mean. So this is a bit of a surprise. I thought it would probably have more of an uptake, and a couple of thousand is still alright. They can still work with that, and the game is in very early access.
Yeah,
it's better than Lawbreakers.
Battlegrounds got buoyed off by Fortnite because it stole lots of their core audience by being a very, very polished game that looked very, very nice and had a lot of features, and there was a lot of movement with it. We've talked about it in the past before, like loads and loads of times, as you know. Like they had different maps, different themes, different events and stuff like that. Boss Key Productions puts out this game that looks like, they just searched the word 80s on the Unity store, bought everything, and it's not finished, it's not polished, it doesn't have any of like the pizzazz that Fortnite had. Now it's got some cool mechanics, but the way that it just overall is a very, very like rough production isn't going to get like people that are playing Fortnite happily on their PS4 hoping they bump into Drake. It's not going to happen, is it? It's got all these weird like little BMX bits.
It's a bit of a mad mishmash, and it was a huge risk releasing it in early access, because that first impression is the impression that people have got. They probably weren't expecting like huge amounts of people to be flocking to the game early on, and they're still going to be working on it. They might as well have not released it, and they'd still be not making any money. So anything they do make out of people buying the Founders Pack for this game, it's just going to be a bit of a bonus while they continue to develop the game. So it's definitely not the end of the road for it. I think it's just beginning. They probably saw something like this happening. Whether or not they expected the play numbers to be as low as they are, the attitude probably would have been, what is the worst that could happen? Let's just kick it out the door. We'll just keep working on it anyway. So I think it's absolutely fine. It's what it looks like in about 6 to 12 months time that is important, I think. And they will pick up, I'm pretty sure.
Very positive.
Cheers, man.
As for where the game itself actually came from, Boss Key creative director Zach Lowry has been telling Variety this week that originally the game was pitched as a prison-based game with a lot of trust mechanics. The idea was canned when the devs realised a central mechanic, which saw one player raising his hands to not be shot and trusting the other player not to shoot, just wasn't going to work. Lowry, who'd spent 10 years working on Saints Row, said the team should focus more on fun. Quote, "I know about putting comedy into a game, about bringing something light-hearted and comical to a serious game type." Development started in mid-November 2017, the idea being to try something small that the studio of roughly 40 staff could have fun with. The game's 80s style aesthetic came from the community manager, who was inspired by the film Running Man, and the fact that the 80s was really hot right now.
It's a non-ironic quote.
Lowry thinks the game now has a broader appeal than most Battle Royale games. Lowry pointed out that the game's state is currently so early that it has a single gendered character, 2 hairstyles, and none of its graphics are locked down or completed.
It really is not a surprise that the person behind Radical Heights has spent 10 years working on the Saints Row series. The influences are pretty obvious and pretty clear, and is clearly, in his own words almost, he's brought his comedic genius from Saints Row and applied all that rib-tickling comedy to Radical Heights. It feels like exactly the same tone that you're getting.
Horrible colour scheme in both games.
Purple everywhere.
Purple! Yeah, what's that about?
These
Instead of a frying pan.
ridiculous haircuts. We played Radical Heights a couple of times on stream with Pretty Good Gaming on Twitch, and it was quite fun. I think there is potential there because of how arcadey and bite-sized it is in comparison to PUBG, which is a lot more hardcore and it's a bit more survivally. You're not really thinking about the dangers in this. You're just plodding around doing whatever you want and having a laugh, which is a bit more, I guess, a bit closer to Fortnite. It's definitely got potential, but the influences from Saints Row and stuff are completely obvious. And I think that prison mode sounded alright, the prison version.
No, the problem there is it involved trusting people on the internet. Don't do a game where you've got to trust people on the internet, because there'll be people just going around just to shit up.
One game tried to do that before, that was DayZ, and everyone ended up killing each other anyway. You always got betrayed in DayZ.
Exactly.
So that's what it's just,
you got hurt too many times.
Yeah,
don't want to go through that again.
Don't want to go back to that. I've moved on. So that's Radical Heights. It's free to play. Have you given it a spin? Yeah, what do you think of it? Let us know down in the comments below. Remember to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. There's another video right there which you can watch right now if you want, and the link to Patreon if you want to support the channel. Thanks for watching. See you next time.